Today we'll take a look at the top 4 strongest builds you can create in Black Myth Wukong. This will showcase builds in their final stages with everything you need to aim for to truly max them out, but I'm also going to include earlier versions of them as you can build them as you just progress. With one exception only, most of these can be built upon from even the first couple of chapters, so without further ado, let's jump right in. Now, the first build is also the one that I used on my first game completion. I call this the Perma stun golden armor build, and just like what the name implies, it basically back-to-back stun locks and freezes targets, especially bosses. It does so via stuns provided by immobilize and instant freezes, takes advantage of constant chi generation via mobile spin and the foreset bonus of the Golden Fury armor, and even gains massive bonus damage and bonus focus points when going in and out of spirit summons. Now, the set you'll eventually aim for is the Golden Fury armor from the end of chapter 3, specifically for its foreset bonus, which makes critical hits and defeating enemies to grant small amounts of chi. This is basically what we use to have a constant uptime on our Frost Bat summon. There's also an early version of this build via the Bronze Monkey set, which buffs Immobilize, and you can actually start building towards this from the beginning of Chapter 1 and then progress to this into Chapter 4. Now, the weapons, pretty much anything with critical hit chance will do, so early on you can use the Rat Sage Staff, you can then move on to Spider Celestial, Chitin Staff, and eventually Jingu Bang or anything that has high critical hit chance, as that's going to make chi generation a lot faster. That's why for our spirit, we're going to use the Upper Mana Bat. This is basically going to give you that instant freeze that you need, and the damage is really great too. Now, for curious items, Cat Eye Beads are really good. It gives another 3% critical hit chance, and you can stack with additional ones you get in New Game Plus. You can also use Tridacna Pendant to reduce the cooldown of your spells. This can work pretty well on the Immobilize. As far as skills go, we have the stances, so Smash or Thrust stance both work really great, especially if you're going with Thrust stance, you're going to have even more critical hits, and even more so once you get the Tri-Point Spear, this can be a very good alternate later on. In terms of abilities, obviously we use a maxed out Immobilize. This is going to be the main one you use when you don't have Frostbat available, so you're going to constantly alternate between them. You can also implement a Cloud Step or even a Rock Solid as you see fit. Both of these work just fine. Foundation, we're going to focus on the focus spinning, so mobile spin is your main way to build up focus and provide those critical hits, which is going to give you a lot of that chi generation so you can spam your bat even more. Also, I recommend Wrathful Escalation for another 1% crit chance per point or 6% in total. We do need to reach at least 25% critical hit chance with this build to make it more reliable. For everything else, go as you see fit. In terms of the relics, we're going to use Opportune Watcher for the first one. This just gives us more focus on light attacks. For the second relic, it doesn't really matter, so just pick whatever you want. For the third one, we need Lingering Aroma. This is going to give us a damage bonus after casting a spell, which is pretty much what we do all the time. Fourth one, Refreshing Taste. You can go for that. It gives you some extra critical chance if you drink medicine. And the fifth one, again, doesn't really matter. Pick whichever you want to. And once you get to play into this, you're going to back-to-back freeze target and then immobilize, then freeze again, then immobilize. And sometimes that is so fast, like the build-up on the chi is so fast, you're going to not even need to use immobilize. You can just cast the bat and do it back-to-back until the boss becomes completely resistant to ice. Point at which you can then start using immobilize, reset that, rinse and repeat, and you're pretty much good to go. This brings us to the second build, which I call the Pillar Stance Demon. Now, this takes advantage of some of the bonuses that the Pillar Stance attacks get from some of the mid to end game staves we have in the game, combined with eventually a very awesome looking armor set. This also combines with the Ring of Fire, both to generate excessive amounts of focus, extremely fast, get some of the best healing in the game. So yes, this build is going to be extremely high in terms of survivability. It also gets excellent range because of the Pillar Heavy, and even debuffs enemies with Thunderbane, further increasing your damage against them. So what else more do you want? Now, in terms of weapons, we're going to eventually aim for the Golden Long Staff. This is your end goal over here. And what's best is that it gets even more busted in New Game Plus via the Stormflash Long Staff, so there's even more reasons to continue progressing with it. Earlier versions can include Long Wreath, even the Rat Sage, or pretty much any other staff that you have that's best currently in slot. Now for the armor set, we're going to use the Yaksha Demon set from the end of Chapter 5. The 2 set bonus is going to buff up our pillar stance moves like the Sweeping and the Churning Gale, which are some of the highest damage dealers for this build. And the 4 set bonus gives the highest damage bonus, 25%, at the cost of also increasing the damage we receive by 28%. And there's also a secret effect if you have this full armor set equipped, which is going to cause these awesome spikes to emerge from beneath when performing the Sweeping Gale for the first time, providing extra AoE damage sources. Plus, you can also go with earlier alternatives to this armor. This includes the long scale armor set, and you can combine that with a See No Evil cap, or even the Grey Wolf mask if you want to go that route. Looks really awesome, but you get more thunder damage out of it. Now, in terms of the curious item, we're going to use the Amber Prayer Beads. This is from Chapter 4. It increases the speed of building up focus, but you can also implement Cat Eye Beads, the Gold Sun Crow, and the Jade Moon Rabbit. There are many other options, whichever you find best here. As far as the skill tree goes, we're going to use the pillar stance, so fully upgrade that tree. Also get Exhilaration, which is going to increase the healing when using focus points for the heavy attacks. I recommend also having Quick Hand here because your manual charge is going to be much faster, and this couples very well when staying inside of a fully charged Ring of Fire. So that's going to power up the 4 focus point generation so much faster so that you can unleash that powerful attack with it. Now for abilities, obviously we use Ring of Fire maxed out. This is giving you huge health regen, lots of extra stamina, very fast focus point charge. We also get to use the Cloud Step. You can definitely max it out, which is very useful to disengage or to deal some extra damage. You can also reduce the cooldown on it with one of the relics. However, keep in mind that the Unveiling Strike heavy bonus damage only works on a single focus point charged heavy. It won't work on 2 or above. So if you've maxed it out, charge up the focus, when invisible, it will not give you and transfer that bonus damage. It will even dissipate that ability right away. Now in terms of transformations, here we're going to use the Bolt Runner. This is going to increase our thunder damage. This is what we get from unlocking the Dark Thunder transformation in Chapter 5. So check out the video that I covered before on that. In terms of the relics, we use Eagle Eye for the first one. Basically, it's a 50% cooldown reduction when you successfully hit enemies in the Cloud Step. Second, doesn't really matter. Third one, In One Breath, which is going to let your focus points charge to the max of 4 when inside Ring of Fire. This is going to be a very important one to have, as you're going to be able to deal way more damage by just standing in the middle of it. For spirits with this one, I recommend going with Non-Void. This is going to let you recover stamina as you are being hit, which constantly happens when you're pulling off the Sweeping Gale. So you can actually hold that ability for way longer and basically have it almost infinitely. That recovery is actually really high, especially if you also stand in the middle of that fire circle. Now at number 3, the next amazing build is going to be the Venomous Centipede. I'm not going to lie, I was dead wrong on this one, and it's much better than I thought, especially with the Venomous Arm Guard secret drop in Chapter 4, which makes poison application a lot more viable, a lot better, and you get all of those other bonuses from the Centipede armor and the 2 spider related staffs. So this has very high crit chance built up with a ton of attacks. You have big attack rating buffs, lots of bonus healing with one of the staffs, plus a lot of poison resist and poison application against targets. This is only going to be mid to late game build, as there aren't really any substitutes, but once you do get there, it's very fun to jump into. That's why the armor we use here is the full Centipede armor plus the Venomous Arm Guard from the Venom Daoist in Chapter 4. We already covered how to get that, so refer to the previous video. But this armor set combination gives us 40 extra attack when our self is being poisoned, plus the arm guard will now build up poison bane on targets when we land critical hits. So yes, this is going to be another high critical hit rate build. It's going to give us all of those buffs, plus the arm guard also by default comes with 3% critical hit chance. In terms of the weapons, we have either the Spider Celestial if you want to apply even more poison and get a slightly higher crit chance, but I recommend the second one, which would be the Visionary Centipede. This has higher attack, gives a significant bonus healing when you consume focus points, when you perform heavy attacks, and it's overall the recommended one since the arm guards already pretty much take care of all the poison application that you need. Now, in terms of the spirits, there are 2 options here. These are also very important with this build. So the best option you aim for is the Proto Armor Worm. This is going to give you extra critical chance when you are yourself in the poison state. Plus, it also has one of the best poison spreads in the game. So all of these pools of poison will linger for a very long time, which means more chances to debuff enemies. But you can also use the earlier version of Guangmo, which is going to increase poison damage and poison resist. For the curious items, we can use the cat eye beads for the extra critical hit chance, and then you can just combine this with the spine in the sack. They just boost poison damage, which you do all the time, and they drop from the cocoon enemies in chapter 4. You can actually farm for these and get 2, 3, or however many you want. Now, vessels also important. We use the Weaver's Needle over here for an extra 3% critical hit chance. And in the foundation skill line, we use Wrathful Escalation for another 6% critical hit chance on top. In terms of other skills, obviously we use either Smash or the Thrust stance, but in this case I prefer the Smash stance a little bit better. Same standard build as before. For the Mysticism, again we go with the Spellbinder, especially for the all or nothing buff. This gives 12% extra critical hit chance by just consuming our stamina, but it lasts indefinitely, or at the very least until we stop Spellbinder. So that's permanent 12% extra critical hit chance. For Alteration, we can skip this since we don't really get to use abilities if we already have Spellbinder available. Transformation, we use Filthy Malice, further increasing poison damage, including the one we have upon us, but this gets unlocked from having the Violet Hail transformation unlocked in chapter 4. One thing to mention here is that for the healing word, we also use the Death Stinger. This is what's going to apply on-demand poison effect on ourselves. So that's going to power up our attack rating by 40 from the bonus we get from the armor set. That means we constantly move around with 24% critical hit chance unbuffed, or close to 50% when fully buffed, both by our healing ward as well as the Spellbinder, which is going to make that application of poison very easy. Pretty much a few mobile spins and that boss is going to immediately get fully poisoned. Point at which you should have about 4 focus points so you can unleash a full heavy visionary centipede attack, which is going to give you a ton of extra healing, especially if you fully max it out. And the last but not least, we get the what I call max damage build. Now there have been many variations of this around the web, but this is possibly the highest direct hit damage of any build. It reaches max potential only in New Game Plus, possibly even one-shotting bosses via the Unified Mind mechanic, but you can actually start building upon it from way earlier than that. It has high defenses, high amounts of mana, lots of spamming. It's perfect for face tanking, no-brainer sort of runs in case you don't really want to think too much but just smash through everything. So the weapons over here are obviously going to be the New Game Plus Dark Iron Staff. This pretty much gives you like almost 100 extra attack if you have at least 400 plus defense, which at that stage and with this armor you definitely will. So the armor is going to be the Bulking armor from the end of chapter 5 secret area. This has the highest defense for at least 2 or 3 New Game Plus cycles until the Wukong concept armor actually catches up. Besides this, Bulking also makes you completely uninterruptible, gets massive focus gains when being hit by enemies, especially when you are below half. So it's very easy to spam your abilities with this one. Earlier alternatives may include the Pilgrim armor set, Jingu Bang, Bishui Beast staff, or any other staff that has high damage at that stage combined with the Pilgrim armor set. Now, in terms of the vessels, we use the Wind Tamer over here just because of the extra defense, so this also helps with that, plus interrupting and stunning enemies. For the Spirit, we have a max leveled up Gore Eye Taoist. Now, this is pretty much going to double your damage when you fully max out this summon. However, there is one thing I want to point here, and that is that the Gore Eye Taoist achieves a higher potential attack rating with the Pilgrim armor set than it does with the Bulking or any other high defense armor. And that is because the Pilgrim actually gives you a double 100% damage bonus, while the high defense realistically only gives you like 80-90 max 100 attack rating, which is pretty much a static increase. So Pilgrim plus Dark Iron plus Gore Eye and then Spellbinder can give over 650% attack rating, which is personally the highest I've ever seen, while the Bulking or any other defense gives about 450 500 at max. That is quite a huge difference. But of course, Pilgrim bonus is a lot harder to keep up. That is why Bulking may still be the much easier option. Now, there are some other very important items here to have as well. For the curious, we need the Thunder Flame Seal. It provides 30 mana each, so in total 90 if you have 3 slots in your first run. So this is something that drops from the Thunder Mages at the Thunderclap Temple in Chapter 3. This works great with the Smart Move bonus, providing even more mana to attack conversion when you use your Spellbinder, which you will want to use a lot of with this build. For the skills, again, Smash Stance or Thrust Stance, but Smash Stance is going to be, again, better here. For Foundation, you're going to want to, again, max out the mana providing Spiritual Awakening, so you have a lot more of that to convert. Everything else, as usual, and depending what you need, so HP, defenses, attack rating, again, choose as you will. For Mysticism, we're going to max out Spellbinder, and the other skill we're going to max out is going to only be the Strand, specifically Pluck of Many, as we're going to use this plus Unified Mind once we get into New Game Plus. So the way you use this is basically start with a Pluck of Many and then turn on the Spellbinder, and then you can do a full 4-hit combo, which is going to cause all of you and your clones deal that unified damage. There are a few more bonuses in here for the transformation skill tree. So Moon Roam can provide more damage after performing perfect dodges. Steadfast provides another 45 defense to buff up the Dark Iron Staff damage. So yes, that works on your regular monkey form as well, not just transformations. And Red Eyes, they can stack some extra damage the more enemies you defeat. And that pretty much is going to make this build the best in the game. There are obviously other New Game Plus weapons that can work really great with this, but Dark Iron is by far the highest in terms of attack rating. Let me know down below in the comments which one of these do you prefer the most. Are there any other builds that you might have discovered to be equally or maybe even better than the ones I've shown? In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, a sub to the channel would be awesome, and I'll see you in the next video. Also, if you enjoyed this video up until now, a sub to the channel would be amazing.